Day Tripper, the fastest way to plan a brilliant day out. Say where you're going, who you're with, and your vibe. In seconds you get a smart, map-ready itinerary with hidden gems. Ready? Try it out at daytripper.com. A perfect day the easy way.
Today's guest is Stephen French, formerly the Devil, now the Fighting Preacher. He's here to tell us about his story. Steve.
Good afternoon, everybody. I haven't come to rehash old stories, old gangster stories. I've done those to death. What I've come to speak about today is the situation, not only in Liverpool, but throughout the nation at the present moment in time, where black is against white, Catholics is against Protestants, Christians are against Muslims, men are against women. And I believe that there's a driving force and a driving element behind it all to keep us divided. I opened up an organization in 2005 called the Anti-Gun Campaign and the Increase the Peace Program. I fell off in 2013 when I pistol whipped somebody, Liverpool City Centre, and ended up going to prison. Now, the only thing that gets me to fall off, is when you come after the females in my family. When you threaten my wife, when I was married, or my daughters, that's when I revert type and I lose myself and I lose my control and I lose my composure. And I lost my composure in 2013. Now, what people weren't aware of is that happened it was the Thursday, the 28th of February, 2008. And I was in Liverpool to get cortisone injections in my knees because I had a fight scheduled at the Troxy in East End of London, sold out venue, gloves not guns, where the Fighting Preacher was going to take on a young kickboxer who'd had about 8 fights, never been beat, 20 years my junior, to show our young fellas, what would you rather attend, a fight or a funeral? What would you rather fight with, gloves or guns? What would you rather join, a gym or a gang? What would you rather take, Class A drugs or a martial arts class? Now, that gives me a nice sideway when I talk about the martial arts. That I'd like to mention one of my students, one of the young men that I trained, which is a young lad called Khaled. And I've seen Khaled on this show. And how I came to be wanting to come and do your podcast is I do a lot of stuff online, and I came across a young man called Around Liverpool, and he put up a post, and in the post it was no whites allowed. So I put up another picture where it said no blacks allowed. To add the counterbalance. Some toing and froing went on. I've had a bee in my bonnet a while for Joey Barton and the Common Sense podcast with the 2 nodding dogs that he has on his show. For the stuff that he's been saying about my race, such as black people are more racist than white people, and all kind of derogatory stuff. But behind it all with Joey, is his ingrained racism. But I'm not going to speak about Joseph today, because he's got his own troubles. I don't believe in kicking a man when he's down. What I will say is, if it's true that the man came at him with a bat at the golf course, he has the right to defend himself. And I hope he gets not guilty. I hope that he comes out of that if he acted in self-defense. So one of the reasons why I wanted to come back to Liverpool was to have a debate with Joey and intellectually tear him a new arsehole, yeah, right, because of his arguments. That brings me to the first argument that I wish to discuss, which is the Pakistani grooming gangs. Now, Pakistani grooming gangs exist. They're real. But we have social commentators such as Liam Tuft. I'm going to do Liam's podcast. Liam Tuft, Tommy 10 Names. And they say that the authorities are frightened to arrest the Muslims in fear of being called racist. Then paradoxically, we have Tommy Robinson in prison saying that Muslims are running British jails. So me being a thinking man, I say, well, if on the one hand, the authorities are frightened of arresting the Muslims in fear of being called racist, how come British jails are overrepresented by Muslims, which means they're being convicted and sent into jail? So what is actually going on? And this is what's happening, yeah? In 1965, I found myself in care. I found myself in Wootton Vale, Allerton Road, Wootton Vale Child Assessment Centre. I was there in 1965. Yeah, in 1977, November the 8th, it was spoke about in the Houses of Parliament. And they said in the Houses of Parliament, if they carry on doing what they're doing in this place, it's going to be churning out hardened criminals. I was there in 65. Curtis Warren was there in 75. And like it or not, were two of the most well-known Liverpool sons, yeah, known as modern-day black gangsters. It's not a title that I adapt for myself, yeah, right? Because I've never considered myself a gangster, yeah, right? But that's the label that's been placed on me. And when I was there, yeah, it was a British Christian paedophile ring. On Christmas, 1965, 23rd of December 1965, a celebrity came to give us Christmas presents. I was given a red fire engine with a yellow ladder and a silver bell on it. And it was given to me by a celebrity known as Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile then attempted to grope me, and I smashed him in the face, automatically smashed him in the face with the fire engine, cut him over his left eye. Jimmy Savile was the first man that I made bleed. I relayed this story and I was laughed out of the city. But when I was in prison in 2013, I wrote a 30,000 word document called Institutional Racism and Malfeasance in Public Office. Yeah, and I sent it recorded delivery to the then Prime Minister the Home Secretary and the Justice Minister. And as a result of that, several investigations were started. Yeah, and under the Freedom of Information Act 2000, I did a subject access request, and Detective Constable Lee Stinchcombe ended up investigating my case. When he read my child files at Liverpool City Council, he said to me, "I'm glad that I wasn't alive in the 1960s, yet because of the overt racism that I faced." But what he found was that when I was there, Jimmy Savile was there, and that if Jimmy Savile was alive today, yeah, he'd be arrested if I'd make a statement and charged. So that brings me back to the points I'm making about the Pakistani grooming gangs. What people don't realize is that sex offenders, people that like to rape children, people that like to abuse children, seek employment where they can get access to vulnerable children, i.e. Liverpool Social Services, the probation services, yeah. And the reason why the Pakistani grooming gangs weren't being arrested is that they work hand in glove with the so-called professionals that are involved within the care homes, within the police. Because what I do is I juxtapose the Pakistani grooming gangs with the British Christian paedophile rings. Yeah. Now, just so you know my position, yeah, I don't advocate for vigilante violence. I believe in the rule of law. And if hanging came back, yeah, I would serve free of charge as an executioner. And I'd hang them, one black, one white, one brown, by the neck till they were dead. And I'd leave them hanging on the Bridge of London for the ravens and the crows to pluck out their eyes because they've been looking at children. That's my sentiments on that. So I'm not here to defend Pakistani grooming gangs. I'm not here to condemn British paedophile rings. I'm here to explain that they exist, yeah? And then you have people like Tommy Robertson, Stephen Yaxley Leonard. I call him Tel Aviv Steve because I seen him on a recent trip to Israel, where a Zionist said to him, "There's a special place in hell for the British people." And this defender of Britain, this leader of Britain, bowed his head and said nothing. If I'd have been there, I'd have nutted that geezer for saying that. Yeah, and took my hiding off the IDF. But because he's being paid by those people to instigate this stuff, he said nothing. So let me give you a scenario. There's two twins, two beautiful blonde-haired, blue-eyed twins, and they're orphaned. And one is given to an Asian family, and one is given to a white family. Yeah, and they're both abused by those families. They're both raped by those families. They're both given out to people to have sex with, and they're both abused. Which girl can start a riot, and which girl will be ignored? The girl that was being raped by the non-white family will have people out in the streets burning the place down. The girl that was raped by the white family should be ignored. These people weaponize the victims. And I can speak on this as an authority because I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor of a British Christian paedophile ring that tried to grope me. Yeah, but I was a feral kid. Yeah, I come from, it wasn't Toxteth when I was a kid. It was called the South End. Yeah, I'm born on Parliament Street, Liverpool, 8, home delivery. When I was born, yeah, there was a knife beside me. We were born fighting. When I was a young man, I was extremely anti-white. I was extremely angry. Yeah. As I matured and I went out into the wild world, I found that there is some incredibly decent white people. I've got white men that I refer to as my brothers. I haven't got a racist bone on my body anymore. Yeah. If I had to describe myself, I'm Anglo-Irish, Afro-Caribbean, mixed race. I'm pro-black, and I identify, yeah, with the British West Indian community. Yeah. I see myself as black British. We're the first generation black British. Now, me personally, yeah, I'm born 60s and 70s. We were the Romanians of the 60s and 70s. We couldn't go anywhere unless we went in a gang. Yeah. And we used to tell people that the police pick us up and they beat us up and they drop us off and they do this. And we were told that we were liars, that didn't happen. I remember in 1981, a miner coming to me where Margaret Thatcher, Maggie, the milk snatcher Thatcher, yeah, was putting the boot into the miners. And a miner came to me and he said to me, I never used to believe you blackies, yeah, about the police and that, but I do now. Yeah, I was a very cold, hard man when I was young. And I told him, what do you want? A medal. We've been telling you that's happened. Now, with the invention of the camera phone, everybody knows that that's the case with the authorities. But it happened to us for years. Now, what happened as a result of that is our generation, my generation, was an extremely robust, tough generation. They had colour bars. No niggers allowed in the nightclubs. Me and my dead brother, he was murdered in 1991, R.I.P. Andrew John. We removed those colour bars. We took over most of the doors. And we set up in the North End on the Grafton, where at one stage, black people were meant to go. I'm smiling because I'm remembering going in the Green Man in Vauxhall Road as a 17-year-old boy. Yeah, 1977. I'm feeling like the Green Man in there. Yeah, so I come from the generation where we broke that yoke. Yeah, where we, as first generation British-born blacks, earned our respect. And we earned our respect by setting this country on fire. We set it on fire in the South End, which they call Toxteth after the riots, Liverpool. Moss Side, Manchester. Chapeltown, Leeds, Handsworth, Birmingham, Brixton, South London, Broadwater Farm, North London, and the oldest black community in Britain, Bristol St. Paul's. We burnt the bitch down and we changed the face of this country forever. We stopped Maggie in the tracks, the plans that they had for Liverpool. It was the British-born blacks that did that. They called it a riot. We called it an uprising. Yeah, and we took the boot off our neck. I can now see a resurgence of that hatred. I can now see those things going back. And like I mentioned one of my young students that I taught martial arts for a good while, Khaled, better known to his friends as Ammo. And I've seen online Khaled waging a one-man war against these racist grifters and social commentators that are just igniting the divisions. Yeah, right? Now, let me quantify when I say that, right? Because I'm not talking about Billy Moore. I don't believe that Billy Moore is a racist. I believe that he's slightly misguided. And me and Billy have had some words. I've done Billy's podcast in 2023. Yeah. Now, I'm gonna talk about myself a little bit. Yeah, right, because I'm a polarizing character. Yeah. And apparently, I'm one of the biggest grassers in Liverpool. That is the brush that they've tarred me with for many, many years. So I went on Billy's podcast. Yeah. And I came back after arrest to challenge those. Yeah. And I came back with a single word called incontestable. I came back with my incontestable receipts. And I asked, bring the names of who I've snitched on. Bring them forward. Bring the statements. Bring your evidence. Stop just saying that about me, yeah, without any evidence. Because none of yous have ever been able to defeat me. I've never been beaten in open combat. I have people writing to the newspapers saying that they've knocked me out in order to bolster their reputation. 2013, yeah, Sam, the Seagull stalker Walker, claimed that he punched me down the stairs in the library in HMP Liverpool. And the Liverpool Echo published it. That was the first I ever heard of that guy. Never knew who he was till then. I'm a trained fighter. So I gave him an opportunity. I came out of jail at 2015. We had a venue up in Haydock with a friend of mine called Christian Roberts. We do bare knuckle boxing, bring him back to straightener. Have a fight, lad. Yeah, get your nose broke, don't get shot in the face. 400 seats, boxing ring, yeah, £25 a ticket, £10,000 for charity. Yeah, he was a no-show. Yeah, I've given quite a few people an opportunity to come and close my big mouth. 3 minutes, 2-minute rounds, K1 kickboxing, knees and elbows, yeah, because I'm about it. I can have a row. I've retired from physical combat because I don't look like it, and I know I don't look like it, but I'm 66 years old. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with black don't crack. It's about the way I've conducted myself, the training I've done, the training I still do, how I eat, yeah, and how I preserve myself, yeah, and I've still got concussive power in both hands. But I'm trying to walk a different path, yeah, I'm coming into my sage stage because I'm a highly educated individual, been to 3 British universities. And my philosophy is change powered by choice, inspired by love, light, and hope. I'm about building bridges, not setting them on fire. I'd like to give you an anecdote about how entrenched the racism is in this city. Yeah, and this, see, one of the difficulties that people have with me is I haven't got a victim mentality. I'm not a whiny, crying little bitch. Yeah, I'm a tough, rough, big black nigger. N-I-G-G-A. Naturally intelligent, God's gangster acolyte. I'm a gangster for God. I'm a born-again Christian, yeah, and I don't care who scoffs or who laughs, yeah. I've been that way since 2009. It was August 2024. I came up to Liverpool back end of January for my mum's 90th birthday. I also have a charity in Ghana, yeah, Africa Lands Trust. Aid, not trade. Trade, not aid. I don't want reparations from anybody. I don't want anybody to give us anything. I want us to be left alone so we can shine. Yeah, and if people will leave us alone, yeah, we will shine. We always do. So I was up in Kirby to meet a guy called Lawrence Kenwright with a view to getting him to give us, to see if he wanted to be involved in our charity. And I was with a Christian brother of mine called Jed Mach. When we reached Kirby Conservative Club, there was a guy in the car turning blue. And I knew he was having a seizure. Through my martial arts training, I'm CPR trained, so I pulled him out of the car, put him on the floor, and I went to work on him. And he died. Lawrence said to me, give it one more go. So I smashed him in his chest. And I blew into him like I was trying to blow into a whale. And I brought him back. His name was John Lloyd. John Lloyd gave 60 years to Kirby ABC. I'd never met him before, but we knew so many people of the same. And he turned out to be the boxing trainer of a lot of the 30 individuals who run into the farmer's pub and chopped my doorman friend Stephen Cole to death in front of his wife. I made a video outside the farmer's pub and I offered the olive branch out after 30 years for the people of Merseyside to show the rest of the country the way. And to the racists that I've fought my whole life, I said, here's my hand. My hand was slapped away. John Lloyd was told that I couldn't go to Kirby ABC Boxing to do a podcast with him. John lasted another 11 months and he died, I think, the 16th of July, 2025. And the opportunity to record his story, I contacted my friend, John Conte, who he knew, and we could have got that guy's story down for posterity. But because of the deep-seated racism that's in Merseyside, the opportunity was lost. Yeah. So I still want to put my hand across the table. I still want to reach my contemporaries and say, can we sort it out? But don't get it twisted with the British-born blacks, because we're not easy. Yeah, and people are running around acting like they can do what they want to us. I'm in South London, I live in South London. That shit don't go on down there. They don't play that shit in South London. Brixton, Streatham, Peckham. That don't happen. Yeah, and I'm seeing it creeping back into Merseyside. And I'm wondering where our militancy's gone. And I'm seeing Amo, Khaled, carrying it on his shoulders. So I reached out to him to speak to him, to tell him, I see you. I see what you're doing. Where's everybody else? And he's being lambasted and laced, and he's getting what he's getting. He's doing what he's done. Yeah, yeah.
Stephen, I kept meaning to ask you, with talking about fighting like that, why don't you think more younger people nowadays sort their problems out like that? Why did they choose to pick up knives and guns and not just have a straightener, as you said?
See, I'm a history buff, yeah, right? I'm a history buff, yeah, right? And the knives and the guns is nothing new. It just appears like it's new, yeah? After the Second World War, yeah, firearms were used. Here, Kirkdale, yeah, Manchester, yeah, and knives, yeah. So it's not new, but the people were more prepared to have a straightener, yeah, to have a go, yeah, right. Now, I work, I do some MCing, and I've worked with him since 2015. Christian Roberts, Spartan Promotions, yeah, in the hay bales, no place to hide, bare knuckle boxing, yeah. Don't get in there unless you're the body, yeah. So we're trying to, there's a grassroots movement, yeah, where we're trying to bring the straightener back.
Yeah, I see that
yeah.
on you. Yeah,
And we do some sterling work, Yeah, right. We just don't get the help or the support. Yeah, and that's not a complaint. Yeah, right. Because if I reach, let me explain it this way. If you go and see the Danny Dyer documentary that was done on me, yeah, I only agreed to do those documentaries if they allowed me to promote my message of peace. Yeah, and I'm sitting at my brother's graveside and I say, if I can save just one life, everything will have been worthwhile. I've spoke to over 1 billion people. It sounds incredulous. Let me break it down for you. My documentary with Danny Dyer and the stuff that I did with Russ Kemp. Yeah, he gets upset over that. Yeah, played on a constant loop repeat and syndicated to every British country, every English-speaking country, Canada, America, New Zealand, Australia. That's where my numbers start to come from. Yeah. Put that with all my other TV appearances. Yeah. In my organization, the Kazuna Increase the Peace program, it was Increase the Peace program to 2013. Then I pistol whipped somebody and made myself a hypocrite. Yeah, right? They threatened to burn my daughter, rape my wife, kill me, and do all kind of stuff. So I was going to kill him. I decided I was going to kill him. That's what the machete was for. I'm in Callan's shop. Yeah, and I look down in the glass window and I see a fake gun, a fake firearm. Yeah, and I've got one angel on one shoulder telling me, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not kill. And then the other angel on the other shoulder says, yeah, but you can pistol whip that punk. And that's exactly what I did. I pistol whipped him and I opened his head up down to the white meat. He went to the hospital. I went to jail. My sister's shop wasn't burnt out. My wife wasn't raped. My daughter wasn't touched. And I was good with that outcome. I made one mistake that I apologize for, and I'd like to explain it on camera. It happened in my office, Il Plazio, 7 Water Street, Il Plazio. I had the whole executive floor, 20 phones going. I was doing commercial debt recoveries and pensions, all legitimate business. Yeah. This guy was bullying a young man, a young white lad, owed him 1,500 quid. I paid him the 1,500 quid so the boy could come and work for me. This gentleman, he misconstrued that as me being frightened of him. He then, so I challenged him to fight because I was fighting at the Troxy in March. Yeah, I said I'll fight the two of them because I fought 2 people on one night and beat both of them. I'll fight the 2 years on one night. He didn't want to fight. He sent me a message saying he was going to kill me, saying he was going to do this, all on my phone. Here's the interesting thing, ladies and gentlemen. All I had to do was hand my phone to the police. And he'd have been arrested. But that would have made me a grass. I can't live the life that I've lived from 1981 to 1994 when I was the devil and then run to the police to protect me. I am not allowed to do that. Yeah, right? So I took the law into my own hands and I took my punishment. Now, when we're in the office and I've hit him, he's run out, his head's bleeding and he's run out the door. I've chased him out the door because my blood's up. And I'm now in the foyer with a fake gun in my hand, but nobody knows it's a fake gun. And I realise I'm on video camera. And there was a young lady, she was the receptionist. And to my shame, I'm deeply shamed over this. And I've apologised. And I wrote a letter to the whole of Merseyside from my jail cell, apologising only for this thing. Not for anything else. I stand by everything else I've done. Come after my kids and I'll do it again. And I walked over to the young girl and I told her, give me the fucking videotape. And I terrorised her. And I seen she was terrified. And she told me that she couldn't do that because it was stored at a separate location. I knew that I was going to prison. And just my luck, I was getting rid of the stuff, throwing them into the Mersey, and an off-duty copper saw me. And because of my notoriety, he knew me and he flagged the spot. People believe I went to jail in shame. My martial arts brothers made a certificate for me because I defended my family. Regardless of what you read in the Liverpool Daily Post and Echo about him being a businessman, he was just the latest wannabe gangster that tried to come against me. That set me back. Yeah, I was flying along, that set me back. And I accept that I'm guilty of a hypocritical act. But you tell me, ladies and gentlemen, what father wouldn't do that for someone who's saying, I'm going to kill your wife and rape your daughter? If you couldn't go to the police because of the lifestyle you've led before, I ask you the question, what would you do? I chose to take the law into my own hands. Judge Stephen Everett, they gave me 6 years. They reduced it to 4 for an early guilty plea. Yeah, and I did 2 behind the door. I did 2 years behind the door. When I entered B-Wing, HMP Liverpool B-Wing, Friday, the Thursday night, the shouts went up. All you could hear through the window was, your grass, you get me, your grass, this, that, the other. That's all I heard. I came out Friday morning on the 4th, and I challenged 250 men to say that shit to my face. I was animated, I was live, I was like a caged panther. And I swear on all that's holy, you could have heard a pin drop. Because nobody wanted to be my Huckleberry. I'd heard it for years. Now's your chance. I'm here. So I'm not trying to paint myself as the big I am, because I'm not. What I am is a man that's not frightened to fight. What I am is a man that's not a snitch. I've never made a statement against any man, and I never will. Yeah, I contacted my friend Billy Moore yesterday. I seen him doing a video. Somebody had swilled him with water. And I wrote to Billy and I said, Billy, you can't make a statement. Yeah, the grass shout will be relentless. He wrote back and he said, I wasn't going to anyway, Stephen. I was just seeing what people were saying. Yeah, and he's not about that. Yeah, he believes in street justice. I advise Billy, forgive the man on camera and move on. You're doing really well with your social media and your wife and your children need you. He said, thanks for the advice. Now, it's odd, yeah, right, because one of my students, Khaled, and Billy and Deb, they're loggerheads, yeah. And I'm going to see if I can find some common ground there to ease the pressure, yeah. Because we're being stirred up and we're being pushed. And I can explain it this way. Let me explain it this way. So, Meghan Markle was loved by the British public. They adored her. But she became, her and, what's Ginger's name? Harry. Her and Harry, yeah, became more popular than Kate and Will. So the bigwigs in Kensington Palace decided to do a number on Meghan, yeah, because the next king and queen have got to be the most popular, not the ones underneath. This was before she was a black woman. And you will see articles in the Daily Mail with Princess Kate pregnant and eating avocado. Oh, the baby's lovely. Avocado's good for the baby. In the same paper, Meghan Markle's eating an avocado and it's related to terrorism. She's supporting terrorism. Same paper, same fruit, just a different spin. When you ask people why they hate Meghan Markle, they can't put the finger on it. She's had a number done to her in the press. We are manipulated en masse by TV, by media, by the press, yeah, and this is what's got us all up in arms at the moment, yeah. And I see it as the billionaires that own everything, yeah, sitting laughing at us, yeah, right, because they've manipulated us into wanting to kill each other, yeah, and it's not getting better, it's getting worse. It takes men like me, yeah, because change never comes from the top down. It comes from the bottom up. Yeah, and we're grassroots. Yeah, you've got upper class, middle class, working class, and then you've got an underclass. Yeah, I come from the underclass. Yeah, lower than the working class. Yeah, monsters are not born, they're created. They're created by poverty, neglect, physical and sexual abuse. Yeah, I faced them all. I faced them all in the care homes. Yeah, when I told the people what had happened, I was labeled a dirty, lying black bastard. Now, if you look at Marvel Comics, if you look at the Marvel Comics or DC, all superheroes and all supervillains they have an origin story. The Joker, yeah, fell into a vat, came up with his skin all white and his hair green. Batman, yeah, fell into a cave of bats and came out as Batman. Yeah, my origin story, yeah, is in those care homes where the violence that was put on me to make me close my mouth, yeah, and be quiet. Now, I wrote a book in 2007, and Sam Walker was the first one to say, well, why didn't you put in about Jimmy Savile in the books, in your book? The truth was, I'd regressed the memories. I didn't realize I'd regressed the memories until I was falsely accused of rape in 2015, and I was back in jail. Yeah, I was back in jail on rape charges. Yeah, and I was with Spencer Benjamin, who's just passed away. I was also with Brian Schumacher, because when I went into jail, they put me with the lifers. Yeah, even though I was only there for a year, because it was a small wing and it was a quiet wing. Yeah, yeah. And when I'm in jail, I'm a handful. And I wasn't going on the numbers. I wasn't going on protection with the other nonces. Yeah, right? Because I never raped nobody and I'm not no nonce. So I was in general population. They got me in church with me head bowed, whacked me over the head. But that's another story. The story I'm telling now is about how I didn't put Jimmy Savile in the book. A lad called Eddie Atta phoned the jail and said to Spencer, they're going to make Frenchie into the next Jimmy Savile. I was only charged with rape. They knew it was false. They knew it was phony, but they believed that women would come out of the woodwork. Yeah, and I'd end up like Gary Glitter or somebody like that because of my reputation. What they didn't understand is that I was raised by females, my sister and my mother. Yeah, yeah, and I've got great respect for women. Yeah. And I've never had to force myself on a woman in my life. So nobody come forward. But when he said he's going to get, I'm going to be turned into the next Jimmy Savile, that triggered something in my subconscious. Now, let me fast forward quick so I can explain the story. In 2017, I got out of prison. This child was born and I was trying to get custody of her. They told me I had to address my offending behavior. So £90 a week, £90 a session, psychoanalytical therapy, I went to that. Now, I was doing it just to jump through, just to tick the boxes for them. I never thought, black people don't do therapy. We don't kill ourselves. Yeah, we persevere. It was the best thing that I did, because when I explained to them that when I was in my jail cell in 2016 and I started to have flashbacks of Jimmy Savile, this is when I wrote the 30-page document, the 30,000 word document, institutional racism and malfeasance in public office. Yeah, because every time the authorities talked about me, they started with me as an 11-year-old stealing a car. I said, let's look at what you did to me when I was a 6-year-old. Let's see what made me this damaged individual. Because I was diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And I'll break that down real fast. The trauma of being so publicly accused of rape. I had 7 front pages Rape, 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 everywhere. On the radio, the Daily Mirror, the Echo, the radio, the telly. Frenchie's a rapist, Frenchie's everywhere. Yeah, everybody was convinced that I did it. Yeah, I never. And I smashed it to smithereens. But it was traumatic. It was very traumatic what I was going through. That's adult trauma. And then getting called Jimmy Savile triggered off what was called flashbacks, which unlocked the memories from my childhood. Yeah. And the childhood trauma and the adult trauma collide. That's what makes it complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Classic case. Yeah, and the beauty of it, is once I understood that, because I thought the rage inside me, the rage that pushed the devil, the rage that gave the devil allegedly could burn people with an iron to get money from them. I thought it was my hate for white people. The rage was what happened to me as a child. And when that unlocked, I wrote a book in 2007 called The Devil, Britain's Toughest. Graham Johnson wrote the book. I'm writing a new book myself now. And that book is called The Devil Decoded. I've decoded the man that I was. And I've recoded myself, the man that I want to be. Yeah. Eddie had to punch me in the mouth on Saturday the 1st of August. I was in town the night of the riots when the police was there after that savage killed a kid in Southport. He needs hanging. I hope he gets what Ian Huntley got in jail, yeah, for what he did to them kids in Southport. Yeah, because let me explain racism to you in a nutshell. Yeah. A white guy rapes the bird, and he's horrible. He needs burning, he needs jailing, he needs this. Yeah, right, and rightly so. A black guy does it, they're all like that. That's racism. That's racism in a nutshell. You're right, because we're not like white people are not a homogenous group. We're not a homogenous group. Yeah. Chris Rock explained it the best. Yeah. You've got black people and you've got niggers, the difference. You've got white people and you've got crackers, the difference. You get me? Black people are decent. Niggers can be horrible. Yeah. White people can be decent. Crackers are horrible. Yeah, right? It's the same in both races. Yeah. All we're asking for. Yeah. Not even, see, I don't ask. I don't deal with that anymore. I'm above that. Yeah. I rose above it years ago. Yeah. I'm independent. Yeah. I've got everything that I need. Yeah. And what I'm trying to do now is share my wisdom. Yeah, right? Because I didn't leave. I get told I got run out of Liverpool. Yeah. I got run out of Liverpool in 2017. I first left Liverpool in 2012. I came back, I did my jail. And I went in 2017 to build a new infrastructure that is a safe environment for my daughter that was born the 29th of March 2016 when I was in jail. I got one girl pregnant. I was living with another girl. We organised an abortion. The abortion was set to go ahead. 2:15, my eldest daughter, the love of my life. I don't call my kids' names out. Yeah. She took me for my birthday meal in Manchester and she told me she was pregnant with my first grandchild. So I had a change of heart. The big, bad, wicked devil changed his mind, phoned the mother up and said, have the baby, we'll do a DNA test, and if the baby's mine, the baby will be sound. But I never told the girl that I was living with, yeah, because I had this was my frame of mind. There's a good chance this baby isn't mine. And if it isn't mine, no harm, no foul. If it is mine, I'll tell her then and I'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Yeah, somebody phoned her up and told her she lost her mind. Yeah, she wanted to discuss it with me. I don't argue with birds. She spat at me. So I spat back at her. She jumped down the stairs, said, I'm getting you recalled. Because I was on license for the pistol whipping. I'm getting you recalled, she says. She phones up the police, she's on the phone, wailing into the phone. Her son's 18 years old, he's over from Dubai. I say to him, if you don't stop your mum doing what she's doing, I'm going to take it up with you and all the men in your family. Stop her doing what she's doing. That was considered a threat to kill. She goes to the police station. No marks, no doctors, no nothing. She comes out the next day and she says, I'm sorry about that, I was drunk, I'll never do it again. I said, listen, love, you've called the police on me. Me and you are done. Yeah. Now, I was telling this story on Sean Atwood's podcast. And I said I got George Floyded. Yeah, and the comments section flooded with, but that happened before George Floyd happened. But I was talking about a poster because I've been George Floyded before George Floyd. I've been George Floyded twice. Once off a tornado squad, HMP Liverpool, they choked me out. And once, when LeVere Hines told him that I had a firearm and I was with my son, he was 10 years old, 91, and he jumped me again and choked me out. Yeah. I was just fortunate that I came back around. Yeah. So I told this girl, we're done. She went back into the police station. Yeah. And she was questioned first as a vulnerable person. One of the questions that they ask a vulnerable person is, did Stephen French ever sexually assault you? The day before she said no, but she had the seed planted in her head. She went back, when she realized I was finishing with her, she went back and she said, he raped me 2 weeks before Christmas. That's when my nightmare started. She couldn't put a date. It was a load of bollocks. They knew it was a load of bollocks. I told DC 4849 Lucy Neal, a witch with a warrant card. Bitch, you'll get no promotion off me. I'll smash this shit before trial. That's exactly what I did. Yeah, because I know how to defend me. If I was a 25-year-old, uneducated black kid, I'd still be in jail for that now. But I understand the system. I understand how to fight them. I understand how to get information from them. And I organised for an abusive process with Judge Dennis Watson, QC. He's now KC. Yeah, that man hated me and I hated him. He said to me, Mr. French, I've had enough of your theatrics in my court. I looked at him. I said, you're sitting up there with a horsehair wig on and a red cape and you're talking to me about theatrics. You're having a laugh, mate. Yeah, and he was furious. He does, because I'm not frightened of them. Yeah, and all they can do is put me in prison. Yeah, right. And I'm not going to sell myself. Yeah, or suck all to them. Yeah, right. When I haven't done nothing wrong. Yeah, and it's interesting enough, right? Because I see that same trait in young Khaled. Yeah. Where I've learned now is I've managed to take the heat out of it. I'm not, yeah. And when I see him later on, I'm going to speak to him about that. And I'm going to learn him about now to take the heat out of it. Yeah. Because he's making his points. Yeah. He sat here. I think it was here he was sitting, wasn't he? And he was beautiful, man. He was articulate. He was talking about how Scouts came about, Norwegians, and he was educating me. Yeah, he was educating me on how Scousers are called Scousers. Yeah, right, because he was relaxed. Yeah, he wasn't having to watch his back, because the kid's on his jack doing all this. What he's doing in Liverpool, the Palestine March, I'm doing in London. I'm on the, and I see all down there. Yeah, right, because $20,000 kids have been killed since the 7th of October. And them kids, they're brown-skinned individuals. They look like me. When I go to Dubai, yeah, and I wear the Dubai gear, yeah, people come up to me talking to me like I'm an Arab because I look like an Arab. Yeah, now I can relate to that. Yeah, right. But it appears that nobody cares about black and brown lives dying. I'm not woe is me, because I'm not that guy. I'm just pointing it out. I'll give you for example, yeah, a contemporary example. I think it was February 22nd, Sunday, February the 22nd. Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, they're on the stage. And Mr. John Davidson, a sufferer of Tourette's, sees two black guys, niggers! Yeah. It was funny.
No,
I thought it was funny.
Each got a fight then, jump forward.
It was, listen, so, two things can be true at the same time. It can be true that you can have an understanding for John David's condition of Tourette's and that he is not responsible for what he said and spoiling a black night, a night of black excellence. And at the same time, the global black community is allowed to be outraged because of the impact of that word. Now, what you've got to understand, yeah, is nigger with a hard ER, yeah, signifies 400 years of oppression. Yeah, right. Now it's not, I'm just matter-of-factly pointing it out. The UN, they've just had a vote in the UN. And they voted 123 that the African Holocaust is the greatest crime against humanity. Those that voted against it was 3. One was Argentina. Well, Argentina killed off all its black people. That's another story. Yeah. The USA, and Israel. All the European countries abstained. Now, I always ask this question: how come Africa has got all this mineral wealth, but it's the poorest country? It's the poorest continent, sorry. How the hell did that happen? There's a book by an author called Walter Rodney on how Europe underdeveloped Africa and how it was empires of extraction. Yeah, and if you want to know why Africa is so poor and Europe so rich, read that book. Yeah. Now, I'm not. I'm not a whiner or a whinger or a complainer. Yeah, right? But I'm just pointing things out. Yeah, and I can stand strong and I can argue my point. Yeah, okay. I believe in examples. So, in Great Britain, there's a housing crisis, yeah? And the common belief among the indigenous British, which is white guys, yeah, right, is that the immigrants are taking all our houses, the immigrants are taking all our jobs, the immigrants are taking all this. You're right, because people are unaware of their own history. So let me take you back to the end of World War II, and everywhere's flattened. The Nazis are flattened everywhere. So everywhere's got to be rebuilt. So from 1945 to 1981, under the leadership starting off of Clement Attlee, when politicians cared about the working class, we built 5 million homes. Yeah. When Margaret Thatcher and that crew came in from 81 to the current day, how many commercial council houses have been built? I won't try to trick you. I'll just tell you, 250,000. Yeah. If King Charles give up 15% of the land that he owns, yeah, and our politicians kept pace with the politicians from 1945 to 1981, yeah, we'd all have a boss house. How the hell is that the fault of 30 brown men in a boat? It's not. Now, getting people to accept that logic is difficult, yeah, because what gets in the way, yeah, is what I call a racist mindset. Now, a lot of people think because they don't call me a nigger anymore, or they're not shouting black bastard after me anymore, that they're not racist. Racism's more than racial slurs. You understand? Yeah, it's systemic. It's institutional. Yeah, right. It's built into the power structures. Yeah, and it's not a complaint. Yeah, right. Because here's the crazy thing now. Yeah. The power brokers are now starting to do it to the white British working class. They're coming under the hammer. Yeah, and they're looking for someone to blame. But they're blaming the wrong people. Because our struggles are the same. Our struggles aren't different. Yeah. We worry about paying council tax. We worry about getting clothes for the kids at Christmas and Easter. Yeah. We worry about the same things. Yeah. You've got, if you look, because see, I do a cross-cultural analysis between America and Britain, because what happens in America 10 years later is happening in Britain. It's always been the way. Yeah, and you see what they're doing there now, yeah, and man, if they're shooting white women in the street, something's up. Yeah, if those that are in authority and power are shooting white women in the street, something's seriously wrong, because the most protected person on the planet is the white female. Yeah, statistically. Not my words, yeah, just contemporary observers and National Office of Statistics. will confirm these things, because what I try to do, is speak independently of my own opinions and bring facts and data, like I did about the housing, like I did about the prisons, like I did about the Pakistani grooming gangs and the British paedophile rings. British paedophile rings. The British clergy have been bumming young white boys for 1,000 years. What churches have been burnt down? What priests have been set on fire? None. On that, I was baptized a Roman Catholic, and I turned away from Catholicism, not from God, but from Catholicism, when I seen the Holy Roman Father blessing tanks and howitzers in 1936 to go into Abyssinia with Mussolini and steal the land of Africans on horseback. Then I seen him taking the nonce priests from Boston and hiding them in the Vatican. That's not the type of Christianity that I follow. Yeah, so it's complex and it's difficult and it's not an easy situation. Yeah, right? And ordinary, everyday people are under the cosh. And we're competing for the same resources. And we're at each other's throats. And what needs to happen is we need to come together. Yeah? And we need to tell these people no. And just stop it. Yeah, right? But how we do that? How does that happen? Yeah, I don't know. I'm on the final third of my life. Yeah. If I'm here in 30 years' time, I've had a great innings. Yeah. So, death is a reality for me. So I'm trying to educate before I leave. Yeah, because I want to leave the world a better place than when I found it. Yeah. And I've made a difference. I've saved lives. And I'm going to continue doing the work that I'm doing. Yeah. And if the best way to describe it is an iron fist and a velvet glove. Yeah. All martial arts, my martial arts, my main martial art was Shotokan karate. And how you grade in Shotokan karate is you do what's called katas. The young katas, Basai Dai, was one of my favorite katas. And that's how you get your grades. Every kata starts off with a block, because it's not about attacking people, it's about defending. Yeah, and I've always been a counter fighter. I'll always take a shot to land a shot. Yeah, I've never been an attacking fighter. Yeah, you're right. My brother, who was murdered, he was an attacker. Yeah, I'd rather counter fight. Kara, karate, kara meaning empty, te meaning hand, empty hands. Fight with your empty hands. As a mirrored surface reflects whatever stands before it, and the valley carries even the smallest of sounds. So must the karateka empty his mind of wickedness and selfishness in an attempt to act appropriately to anything he may encounter. This is the meaning of kara, MT in karate, Gichin Funakoshi Sensei, the founder of Shotokan Karate. Yeah, I follow Bushido, the code of Bushido. Yeah, I consider myself a modern day samurai. My customato was a white guy called Ronnie Colwell, my sensei Ronnie Colwell. He was customato to me. He found me when I was 15. He saw something in me. He was the first person outside my family to say there was something about me. He told me that he would make me or break me. He made me. 10 years later, I was English, British, European, and a world champion fighter. Those accolades can't be taken away from me. That's my history. Yeah, I'm about creating my own legacy. Yeah, and destroying the false narratives about me, that I'm a man that rapes men, women, boys, girls, my own 18-month-old daughter, that I'm a snitch and a coward and that I can't fight. Yeah, they're the labels that people have tried to lambast me with. And in 2023, I came back to take on the internet. And I won. I've won. I've broke all that down. Yeah, people can't say that to me anymore. Nobody can bring the receipts. I'll finish with this one. Yeah, and then you can ask me some questions. When I did Billy Moore's podcast, he phoned me up 6 weeks later and they're raving about a guy called Warren Slaney. Now, Warren Slaney is one of the hardest men in the British prisons. He's in for double life. He killed 2 people, allegedly. He maintains his innocence, and I believe he's innocent, but he's one tough guy. And there was a video, 250,000 views, where he smashed me in Long Lartin. And everybody's coming onto video, Billy's thing, and saying, Frenchie he hasn't talked about this. And I was there. I saw that fight. I saw him get his face smashed in. So I went back I did another video with Billy, and I wrote to findaprisoner.com. And I read the email out online, and they're laughing and sniggering at me and putting in the comments. I wrote the email on the 19th of November. 21st of December, I get an email back from the guy himself, findaprisoner.com, and I read that out. Yeah. I was never in that prison. The guy doesn't know me, and we've never had the fight. All these people that was saying that they'd seen the fights and seen me get my face smashed in were exposed as maliciously mendacious. Malicious is to be nasty and horrible, and mendacious means to lie. So many people tell lies about me. Do you know why? Because I'm a black prince. Yeah. And I look straight, and I walk straight, and I stand tall, and I fear nobody. Never have done, and never will do. Yeah. And it's because I won't bend and I won't bow. But I'm not going to have labels placed on me that don't belong. You can call me a hypocrite all day long, because that's true. I'm the anti-gun campaigner that pistol whipped the guy. Hypocrite. I accept that. But I saved my family at the same time. And I don't know a man that wouldn't do that. Yeah, I'll go to jail for my family. Yeah. I have to contain myself. Yeah, there's so many things that I can't talk about that I've done. But I know who I am. I know what I'm capable of. And I walk tall. Yeah, but I'm trying to embrace humility. I'm trying to be humble. But it's hard to be humble when you're as great as I am. Any questions?
You were talking earlier about, was it the book, The Devil Decoded?
Yeah.
How long was the process to decode yourself, as you said?
So, that's an excellent question, by the way. Yeah, right. I went to psychoanalytical therapy with Dr. Hussein and Dr. Mim. I went over to a place called Swiss Cottage. Yeah, Sigmund Freud's building. Yeah, and I was in a group. A group of violent offenders, murderers, arsonists, gang members. Yeah, I gave the group a nickname, Monsters Inc. We were all monsters. You understand? Trying to address ourselves. Yeah, and I did that for 5 years. Yeah, and when you can strip down, see, I also used to work as the problem solver extraordinaire when I used to do my debt recoveries. Yeah, you know Robert McCall from The Equalizer, yeah, and Edward Woodward. Well, I used to do that for real. Yeah, I used to help small businessmen get the money back. Because I know that I'm a brave guy. Yeah, so what I had to do was address my own violence, address where the violence came from, address what makes me want to kill people. You understand? I'll strip it down to the core, yeah, right? I'll peel it all back, yeah? And it took years to peel it all back. I peeled it all back and then rebuild, yeah, as the man that I want to be, yeah, because my life changed. When I went into the care homes, yeah, I went in and I'm reading these child files. Yeah, and they're talking about a kid called Smiley. I forgot my name was Smiley, because if you looked at me, I'd smile. Yeah, and it says Smiley. It also says, the copper asked me, he said to me, have you got white brothers and sisters? Well, I've got very light-skinned brothers. If I have a kid with a white girl, the baby can look white. Yeah. So my eldest brother, my eldest sister, they look white, but they're not white. Yeah. My nan took them in the house, but she wouldn't let me go in the house, and I went into care. Yeah. Now, it's not like, oh, yeah. That had an effect on me, man. Yeah. And then I'm fighting with men trying to shag me. Yeah. And I'm sleeping with a screwdriver, and nobody believes me. Yeah. So I picked up 2 coping mechanisms. The first coping mechanism I picked up was, if you're outnumbered, pick up a tool and just juke them. Juke them in the eye, juke them in the face, smash them. That was my first coping mechanism. And because they branded me a liar, do you see how I can pull dates from anywhere? Yeah. And I can be precise with the dates. A time and date stamp everything. Yeah, right. So I can say, because I internalized being called a dirty little lying black bastard at 6 years old. Yeah, so I go above and beyond to prove. I'm obsessed with the truth. I call it rigorous honesty. I'm obsessed with proving that I'm not a liar. It's a coping mechanism learned in childhood. Yeah, right. Now, and I used to think, kids, you'd say so. It happened in childhood. Turns out it's true. Listen, this is why I was determined to stay with my wife, yeah, till my daughter, from the day my daughter was born till she went to school. Yeah, right. I messed it up with my son. Yeah, this take the other kid, I don't see it. That was but my daughter, she got it all. She got everything, private education, everything, because I was married to her mum. Do you understand? And I did a sterling job, you right, because I'm a father figure. Yeah. A lot of I've mentored. See, I used to have a security firm. Yeah. My turnover was £5 million. My profit was £1 million a year. I had 500 men working for me. Yeah. I used to give drug dealers a job that wanted to get out of the game. Because when all the men that I mentor, the first thing they ask me, Frenchy, how am I going to make me fed? How am I going to make me paper? If I'm not slinging, if I'm not hustling. Yeah, right. And one guy, yeah, right, he's passed away now. He came and see me and he said, you know what, Steve, I had fast money. He said, but I'm earning like £800 a month with you, £800 take home. He said, but I'm not looking over my shoulder. And it's marvelous, yeah. 2012, and I'd like the audience to know this. In 2012, I was over with Evander Holyfield, and I went on to Sky TV. Yeah, right. But just before that, yeah, I was going to a church called New Life Church on Granby Street, Liverpool 8. Bishop Ebby said to me, you will speak to millions. You will speak to millions. And I looked at him and I thought, you're just trying to get your hand in my pocket, chatting shit to me. Yeah, right? In my horrible mind. Yeah. That was 2010. 2012, I'm with Evander Holyfield. We're driving to Sky TV. The driver that they sent for us says to us, well, Mr. French, you're going to speak to 50 million people today, yeah, across Europe. What are you going to tell them? And the bishop flashed into my mind. This is what I told him. And you've got to remember now, yeah, you're right, this is 2012. If you remember 2007, when Rhys Jones was shot, yeah, and Camilla Pennington was shot in Manchester, the black girl. Yeah, you're right. It was the gangs that were being blamed then. Because the immigrants didn't come till 2015. All the young fellas were the scapegoats at that time when I was doing that work. Yeah. And I told them, our young men aren't a cause of the problem. They're a symptom. It's the likes of the super bankers Bob Diamond, yeah, the politicians, the clergy, the police, not building an infrastructure where our young men can tap into it so that they can provide for themselves and their families without becoming drug dealers, gang members, or pistoleros. They've been failed by those in positions of authority and power whose responsibility it is to look after us all. Because they're saying, look at the immigrants taking your biscuits and sticking 20 biscuits in the pocket. Yeah. And every time, those who lack the education fall for that bullshit. Yeah, and blame the wrong people. Now, the 18th of May, 2012, type in Evander Holyfield's name and you'll see they took my interview down. And the reason why they took my interview down is they can't have it being broke down that simple. It's gone, but his is still there. and his name's still associated with me. So that's my receipt that I spoke to 50 million in the morning, and I spoke to another 50 million on Radio Europe in the afternoon. So my record for pushing my message of peace and pushing that it's not the young fella's fault that will be, it's to 100 million in one day. Yeah, right. And my mission statement that's in my book, to help young men come out of the dark and into the light, and at the same time expose the corrupt men in positions of authority and power who utilize that authority and power to hold the rest of us down. In 2012, I was talking about Joe Anderson. I was talking about Derek Hatton. I was talking about Norman Betterson. I was laughed at. Laughed. 2015, I did Project 89K. From the 11th of December 2015 to the 16th of January 2016. I fed, clothed and sheltered a dozen homeless people. I did it for a birthday present to Christ. It was called Project 89K because that's how much Joe Anderson snaffled from council money to pay his legal fees when he moved from one job to another job. That was 215, I was pointing that out. 225, they're both arrested. They're both on charges. Yeah. So it turns out that Frenchie does what it says on the tin. I've helped hundreds of young men come out of the dark and come into the light. I've saved lives. And I've exposed the corrupt men in positions of authority and power. Yeah, and I'm slowing down now. Yeah, because I want to go and play golf. Love golf. Want to have some time to myself. Want to enjoy my grandkids. I've pushed the fight in. Yeah, right. But when I see the raging going on, and when I see young men like Amo, Khaled, being emotionally torn apart, when he's, but he's in the right, I have to come and put my arm around him and say, you're not wrong. And then come and speak and look at the camera, yeah, and say, fault my logic, fault my pedigree, fault my receipts. But bring receipts to do it. Don't just say, shut up your grass. Bring the statements, show your evidence, or just be quiet and leave black people alone.